Hello! You're listening to the Shootin' the Shift podcast with your hosts, Darren Good and
Nicholas Good. We are the Good Brothers.
today we have a multitude of topics for you, from the new Ramcharger to the return of Saab, as well as my personal thoughts on the new WRX TR, as well as
Mazda's move up market, the Ram Row and TRX debacle, and Lucid's future as a company.
all that and much more coming up on the Shootin' the Shift podcast.
Our first and hopefully not our last.
What story would you like to speak about first?
So the first story which I have is actually, the source here is Jalopnik, and the headline is Mazda's push to move up market is actually working.
Oh,
So-
for like the CX-9?
It's CX-90. So do you remember back in, I don't know, it was like 2015 or something? Around that time, they changed the Mazda logo.
Yeah, I do remember that.
Yeah, so they did that, and they were like, we are going to push up market, and everyone was like, you're just...
How is that going to work? You guys are the scrappy little imports.
Right. And traditionally, Japanese car brands have not been super successful at doing that with their own mark. That's why
Acura exists.
Acura exists. That's
Lexus.
why Lexus exists.
Yes.
Not Alexa.
Sorry about that, everybody.
But the thing is that Mazda has actually been kind of crushing it recently. And
I've seen a lot of CX-90s driving around.
it's not just the CX-90, it's also the CX-30.
Yeah, with the weird wide-body bumpers on the back.
Yeah, it's got the cladding and stuff.
Yeah.
The CX-30, I have heard from multiple sources, has exceptionally good handling. Which is,
That wouldn't surprise me, knowing what Mazda knows.
that's the thing, right?
It's an
Mazda
SUV, though.
Mazda has really been basically looking at mid-2000s BMW and being like,
We need to do that.
yes. And so they have been,
The Mazda E46 coming to a dealership near you.
God, I wish. Tell me it wouldn't be
That
awesome.
would be like actually having Mazda make a hardtop, straight six, rear wheel drive coupe. That would be phenomenal. Like modern FD, but with that engine from the CX-90.
Exactly. So let's talk for a minute about the CX-90. So it is for those that don't know, it's their flagship new luxury SUV. It is powered by a turbocharged straight six. And let's go. We're getting the straight sixes
We are.
back.
Absolutely.
It might be at the cost of some V8s, which we'll have to
that's
talk
one of-
about later.
I have some words on that.
But for now, at least in a Mazda, I will welcome a turbo straight six. And it's not just the fact that it's a turbo straight six, it's that it is a rear wheel drive based SUV.
Similar to Ford Explorer ST with that 3-liter V6 that is really strong, actually. Like, there are people getting 700-800 horsepower out of the stock bottom end on those things. So manufacturers are finally seeing the advantage of going rear-wheel drive based over transverse, which for one, I'm happy about.
So yeah, basically Mazda has been propelled this year by the extreme success of the CX-90 and the CX-30, and they are looking to post their most profitable year ever this year.
Really?
Yeah.
That's huge.
And that is according to Jalopnik. That October has been slowing, but it's been a lot of good sales. So it says here that they will sell about 389,000 vehicles here, which would be a 22% increase over the previous year. And it would also set a new U.S. sales record that hasn't been broken since 1986, when it sold just under 380,000 vehicles.
They hadn't been in the U.S. for very long at that point, but it was right after the gas crisis, so...
Right. So I guess the closing thoughts on this topic is, do we think that Mazda moving up market is a good thing? Because on the one hand, they're not really in competition with Honda or with Toyota anymore.
No, absolutely not. Not with
They're
their
moving
current lineup.
right. They're moving more towards BMW, towards
Lower-ish end BMWs.
or-
You know,
or
not quite like
Buicks.
three. What would it be? I can never remember BMW's confusing model name, but they're, what is it, like the
X3.
X3?
Yeah, X3.
They're moving closer to targeting like X3s versus
I would say
the
X5
7s.
is where the CX-90 is at.
X5 is definitely comparable to the CX-90.
And the thing that has me worried is there is a new Mazda MX-5 coming.
That is going to be concerning.
What do you think they're going to do? Because on the one hand, they could stay the course and keep giving us exactly
What they've already given us.
what we know that they should, which is
a fun, small, rear-wheel drive, naturally aspirated drop top of some form.
with a fizzy 4-cylinder, and it needs to be light and simple.
Correct. I have a feeling that they're going to go plug-in.
Okay.
It seems like the kind of thing that unfortunately for enthusiasts, that the entire market is moving towards is hybridization and deletion of manual transmissions.
It's only unfortunate if they can't make it light, which
Yes.
thus far has not been the case for all but the 296 GTB.
Yeah. I mean, you look at...
But that also costs $1 zillion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You look at the BMWs nowadays, and the hybrid electric BMWs, and that new Mercedes C63.
Oh, yeah. Oh, God.
The 4-cylinder,
We'll talk a little bit more about that in a second.
That thing is fat. That is the only way to describe it. But
Yeah.
to
That is
what it may be, it makes a lot of power.
It's a C-Class
That is 5,000 plus pounds.
Yeah.
That is insane, personally. But
So, all in all, I would say good. I'm glad that Mazda is thriving, and I'm glad that they're thriving off of cars which are absolutely interesting.
yes,
I would drive a CX-90
Oh,
over a lot of other SUVs. I truly would. And the same is true for the CX-30. Please don't butcher the MX-5.
That is the one that
Please.
is sacred. It needs to be a fun little car.
All right, so what do you have?
I wanted to talk about the new Ramcharger.
This is not what I thought you were going to talk about.
So I've been actually watching this thing. My source here is from Car and Driver. They have announced the 2025 Ram 1500 Ramcharger, and it is a 663 horsepower all-wheel drive pickup truck, right? It is a plug-in hybrid, however. So it has a 14,000 pound tow rating and 145 miles of electric range. It's supposed to be V6 is what it says. 70.8 kilowatt hour battery provides an estimated 145 miles of electric range and feeds a 663 horsepower all-wheel drive powertrain with a V6 spinning as a generator for a range extender. Which, if you think about it, that's what we really should have done in the automotive industry. We shouldn't have jumped straight to EVs.
Oh, I agree.
Like,
Plug-in hybrid is great.
Absolutely. And if you extend that with a generator, you have a decent-sized battery, and then you have a generator-engine combo. So you can run a smaller engine of some form, but you still get all the creature comforts of having an engine. You know, air conditioning doesn't really rob your range. Heat doesn't really rob your range.
Not to mention the benefits of EV, regenerative braking being absolutely
Exactly.
huge.
Regenerative braking, you save on brake pads. The fact that they're pushing that this has a 14,000 pound tow rating for a half-ton pickup truck is huge. That's the electric torque.
Can I just say that GM is in trouble for one main reason? Ramcharger and Lightning were two names from the ages which were just perfect for
Awesome. Especially for electrification.
I don't know if GM has one that is quite that perfect. Silverado EV just ain't.
It doesn't roll off the tongue very well, does it?
I don't know.
Yeah, so it's the Ramcharger serving as a bridge between the refreshed gas-powered 1500 and the upcoming Ram 1500 REV, which the REV is the all-electric one. That's the one with the radical, crazy design that really, honestly, from what I've seen, has the internet split. Like, some people love it, other people absolutely hate it because they're like, that's not a Ram. And Ram has always had a very striking design, in my opinion. I've always personally thought they were some of the better looking pickup trucks on the market. Sorry, that was our timer there. The first generation Ram, it's iconic. Second generation Ram, you know it for the 12 valve. Everybody knows the 12 valve because all you hear when a 12 valve goes by is just, and you can't do anything but look, especially if you're an enthusiast. Third gen, and then you get the fourth gens. The fourth gens are the really good looking ones, right? They've got that perfect headlight shape. The fifth gens, they came out, they're modernized. They have really good interiors. Sixth gen we're going to see. And according to this, that generator is going to be the best V6, best mainstream V6 that we have seen in the last 2 decades, let's say.
I would say probably at least since VQ.
VQs are still being made.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is that it was one of the most recent very good V6s.
Correct. And if you don't know, it's the venerable 3.6 liter Pentastar, which very good power, but it's surprising that they chose a Pentastar over something, for example, the not Hurricane. What am I thinking? What's the other one? The Tornado? They're 4-cylinder.
4-cylinder.
The inline 4 from the Wrangler. I can't remember the name of that thing. I've been so focused on the Hurricane Straight 6 recently.
I have no idea that this is an engine that exists.
Really? You didn't know the Jeep Wrangler has 3 engine options. 3-liter EcoDiesel, 3.6 Pentastar, and the tiny 2-liter 4-cylinder turbo. And I cannot remember for the life of me what that engine is named.
So on the subject of the Hurricane Straight 6, though, this is what I thought you were going to be talking about. Did you hear about the Ram RHO?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm excited for that.
The Ram RHO. So basically what they have done here is they have taken the Ram TRX and they cannot, for presumably cafe reasons, continue to make it with the Hellcat engine.
Correct.
So rather than take a complete downgrade and continue to name it the TRX, Ram just has, and Dodge in general, because let's be honest, Ram is still Dodge.
Yes, obviously. It's part of Stellantis. Everything's Dodge.
Right. They clearly have too much pride to downgrade and still say it's the same thing. So instead, they have named it the RHO, or RHO maybe.
What does that stand for?
Rho in physics terms is density. That's what the Greek letter for it means.
I mean, with the trend of current cars getting heavier, it makes sense.
Yeah. I don't know. That's probably not what it means. But it will be using the Hurricane Straight 6, so that's the 3-liter Straight 6 with 540 horsepower.
Which is impressive
and
for a 3-liter.
And it will be maintaining the same wide body status, the same knobby tires, the same look, but it will not be called the TRX. And
which is kind of sad because that's one of the cooler names out there for a high performance vehicle. Raptor,
yeah.
TRX. What is Chevy's?
It's the Silverado's ZR2?
ZR2, no.
That's the Colorado.
Bison. I think it's called the Bison.
GM?
What the hell?
Please.
Okay. Ford has Raptor. They have Tremor. That's cool. Yeah, I drive a Bison. Ram Rebel. Rebel, cool. TRX, cool. Bison. What? Just, no thank you.
So yeah. I personally would have preferred, and I get for development cost reasons, this was probably not ideal. I would have preferred that they stuff this Hurricane Straight 6 into a smaller vehicle like the Ram Rebel.
Yeah.
and name that the RHO. Be
Correct.
like,
that would be cool.
check this out. The TRX is going away, but if you downsize, you simplify, and then you add this engine, it's still insane. Arguably more insane. But going this direction, look, Turbo Straight 6 can do cool things.
The Supra?
The Supra? So I'm never going to say no to us having more Turbo Straight 6s.
Right. I've been following the development of the Hurricane a lot, and what I am really curious to see is what the cost of the dealership Direct Connect Cat X Hurricane crate is going to be, which is a clever name, by the way, because you got Cat 1, Cat 3, Cat X Hurricane categories, you know. Then the Category X Hurry Crate, as they're calling it.
It sounds like a advanced age mobility tool.
The Hurry Crate.
You need the Hurry Crate.
Call now. It's supposed to have over 1,000 horsepower from a 3-liter straight 6.
I mean,
That is impressive. That is a lot of power from what is essentially a handful of these unbranded fizzy drinks.
ask me a question. Wait, I'm going to ask you a question. Do you think they are going to offer any warranty on that? Because if
they offered a warranty on the Elephant.
If they do,
it was a 20 feet warranty. You get it out the door, your warranty's done. But they offered a warranty.
If they do, then I'll be impressed, because then that will tell me that they believe
in it,
that this will survive.
Yeah.
However,
it's like all of the last call challengers that blew up while they were developing the Demon.
However, until such a time as they do that, I will think, so what? 2JZ has been doing that for nearly 30 years.
With rednecks in garages, LSs have been doing the same thing.
Okay, but an LS is double the displacement.
I see your point, but still. Yeah, the Hurricane... I almost said Hurry Crate again. The Hurricane...
Order now!
Order now. The Hurricane engine, honestly, has been on my radar for a while. That's something I would love to swap into a lightweight chassis of some form. Be it RX-8, S2000, something along that size. Which, we have some plans for an RX-8 in the future, which we'll talk about a little bit later. So, next story. You go next, I believe.
Sure. So, my third story, because I kind of hijacked part of yours.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about the fact that the 7.4 hour kilowatt battery in the Ramcharger can be used to power a house.
Yeah, well, that's the same trick that the Lightning uses.
Yeah, but this has a generator built in.
Yeah, and that is useful.
That is actually huge.
But I do think that it is... I think there is no better illustration of how much energy it takes to move a vehicle than the fact that a Ford F-150 Lightning can run your house for like 3 days.
Yes, it can run your house for 3 days, but it can only tow a trailer 25 miles. It's closer to 100, but still.
Yeah, I was going to say. But that really does tell you how much energy gasoline has in it. Like, seriously. But anyways.
Your story.
Yeah, moving away from gasoline here for a second, I want to talk about Lucid.
Ooh, okay.
Now, personally, I am a big fan of Lucid. They really, really, really remind me of mid-90s Mercedes-Benz. Here is a bunch of people who really, really care about the craft. Let's set them some insane design targets and make the best car ever. And that is what the Air is.
Yes, I totally agree with that.
To its benefit and to its detriment. It is a car with 1,000 horsepower that has a trunk and a frunk that isn't an afterthought. A frunk that is of the size that you can put like 3 suitcases in there.
The trunk is weird, though.
The trunk is a little odd.
The entire back of the car is just
But the footprint of the car is E-Class size, and the interior is S-Class size.
Yeah, that is incredible.
Because of how far apart the wheels can be. And
it is amusing to me that you get the lower trim level of it with less range. You have more rear leg room.
Yeah.
That is kind of funny.
The packaging that they have done with that car is truly incredible. And it's not just that, it's also a world-class handler. It disguises its weight extremely well. It is a heavy car, but it manages to have the same... So
it's still sub 5,000, isn't it?
I think it's around 5,000. But
it's got to be like 49 and change, at least.
The chassis target that they had for it was the E39 M5. And
that's a good car.
And Jason Camisa himself said that the Lucid Sapphire is the best handling car he has ever driven.
That's high praise.
That is insane.
That is really high praise.
So the fact of the matter is that they have made a truly world-class vehicle. The issue is, who cares? I would buy it, but I have no money. And unfortunately, that is the case for a lot of car enthusiasts.
Yeah.
So these cars are not going to be going mostly to the people who
would appreciate them the most.
Exactly. And so the issue that they have run into is they've been producing about 1,400 vehicles a year.
A year?
Yeah. And they've been having
That's
trouble
like
moving
nothing.
those. And so because of that, they're having trouble amortizing their manufacturing costs. So think about the fact that most automakers, they license a e-Pass unit, electric power steering, from Bosch.
Yeah.
Or they take windshield wiper motor also from Bosch. And
Bosch makes a lot of stuff.
And ABS also from Bosch. The point is, most of transmissions from Getrag or Tremec or ZF.
Or any number of other manufacturers.
Right. So
there's a lot of transmissions on the market.
Lucid does not outsource anything.
Everything's made in-house?
Yes.
Okay, that I did not know.
They do everything, and this is why I'm saying they're like 90s Mercedes-Benz.
Yeah.
Except even crazier.
Especially in this economy, in this market. Like, doing that is unheard of.
So they do that, and that it has its benefits, but only if you can scale. So Tesla obviously has managed to sell a vast swath of
metric
cars.
buttload of Model 3s. They're everywhere.
Despite pretty much all of their cars, actually I'm just going to say all of their cars being worse in basically every metric than the Air, with the exception of price point.
Price point being a big one.
Which is obviously...
Tesla has dropped the price points on the Model 3s significantly. Like, you compare it to the original Tesla Roadster, or when the Model S first came out.
Well, when the Model 3 debuted, I think it debuted around like 30.
It was high 30s.
And its price has steadily risen since then.
Yes, with all of the not just inflation, but all of the extra technology, the demand, everything that Tesla can throw at these things. Like have you seen the new Highland? Project Highland?
No, I have not.
Refreshed Model 3.
Oh, yeah, I have seen that. Yeah.
It looks pretty decent because it finally got rid of the fake grille.
I hate it. I think it looks worse.
Really?
Yeah.
I think it looks less bulbous.
But the thing is that Tesla has managed to sell a lot of stuff, and they do the same thing that Lucid's doing. They have not gone out and outsourced anything.
Which is ridiculous.
Yeah, they've built everything from the ground up.
It's very similar to Koenigsegg.
But the issue is that Lucid has not managed to move enough units to amortize those manufacturing costs for all of those individual parts.
Each individual thing, that's got to be a machine and a person, basically, to manufacture it. A windshield wiper stock is not a trivial thing. There's a lot of tiny little moving parts, especially in modern cars. In my own personal car, the headlight switch is incorporated into the turn signal stock. So my pickup truck, the headlight, or the windshield wiper, and the cruise control are both integrated into the wiper stock, or into the turn signal stock. Somehow. I don't know how GM managed that.
The ultimate point that I'm trying to make here, though, if you do the math, because they sold about 1,400 units...
Roughly.
It's about 433,000 lost per car sold.
which is incredible.
Obviously, that's not bill of materials. Because, you know, there's all the molding and all of the stuff.
The stuff required to make the other stuff.
The setup costs. It's not just the bill of materials. But it hurts to think about that because each one that's sold maxes out at $250K.
Yes.
So, they do have... so their total losses thus far for the first 9 months of the year have been about $2 billion.
Woof.
Yeah, and
with a B.
Yeah, with a P, and
people don't seem to understand how much money that actually is.
At the end of last quarter, they still have $545 billion in liquidity.
5
billion. So, if things continue this way,
that's not going to end well.
They will need more investment or they will die. Which is why everything is riding on the Lucid Gravity.
To give listeners at home some context, 1 billion seconds is 31.69 years. That's how much money we're talking about. 31 years.
So they have lost a lot of money.
A substantial amount of money.
So everything, like I said, everything hinges on the Gravity, which is their SUV that's coming out.
Right.
And they can build that on the same platform as the Air.
Because it's a good platform.
Naturally speaking...
They built scalability into it. It makes sense.
Naturally, people are willing to pay more for SUVs than they are for sedans. It's just the way the world works.
Hey, there's more stuff. It costs more. Okay.
And thus, the profit margin can be higher.
Right.
And also, most people who will be going to buy a Lucid Gravity will probably not be thinking, yes, I will go and take this out to Laguna and see how it corners. And so they probably won't have to put that much thought into the way that it handles. They're still going to do that because that's just who these people are.
Absolute lunatics.
But I really, really want them to survive. And so I will be eagerly awaiting that.
I am looking forward to seeing what they do with that. Because the Gravity, from what I've seen, is going to be great. Like, it's Model X, but not Tesla.
I mean, the Air's range is...
That alone is huge.
Miles.
500 miles out of an EV. That is basically bridging the gap between... for range anxiety.
Would you not want to take a half-hour break after 8.5 hours of driving?
Yeah. I know that we're going to have that problem when we drive down south.
Yeah, that'll be a good time.
Whew.
So that's my bit on Lucid. I love them. They need to stop with making the Air better. The Sapphire is incredible.
It's basically the best it can get.
Because
you're running into the limits of physics at that point.
I want one so bad. Please make money.
Make them cheap.
Well, what I really want is...
a compact Lucid.
Oh, yeah. Could you imagine a Lucid engineered hot hatch?
Oh, my
targeting
goodness.
like $50,000?
$50,000 for an EV hot hatch.
Target like 350 miles of range.
I would say 300 would be a nice round number because then it's not going to be so heavy from all of the batteries to hit that extra range. Because their battery tech is already obviously fantastic. They're getting 500 miles of range out of a pack that is not significantly bigger than the Model X or Model S Plaid.
Mm-hmm.
It's really not that much bigger, but then they have this gap between them and Tesla for... I think what is the max range on a Plaid? Isn't it like 340 miles or something along those lines?
I know it is for sure less than the base Model S long range.
And yes, because it's a bunch of extra power in the wheels and the wide body. And
I think it's somewhere in the neighborhood of 300.
It's incredible that a Lucid can outrun it with extra range.
Oh yeah,
like that's mind-boggling.
Also, I just absolutely adore the fact that the Sapphire comes with these hubcaps.
Those are so cool.
Which you can click on if you want more range, and then pop off if you want more brake cooling.
Like, that's so cool. It makes sense.
It's great.
Especially for, well, what the cars are never going to be used for. It makes perfect sense. So,
but they are very good for that.
They are very good. So, that actually, speaking about EVs, segues into one of my other stories I have here. Long dead company driven into the ground by GM. What brand comes to mind?
Well, where to start? I have a feeling you're going to say Saab.
Correct.
Yeah.
So, Saab might actually be a new electric car. Saab might be revived as an EV, which is kind of scary if you think about it. So,
you can't really make an electric jet.
People have tried and it didn't end well. So, NEVS, N-E-V-S, they are the company that basically bought the rights to Saab. It is a Chinese-owned conglomerate, and they've been making, basically, they're 9.3s, but electric. And they're not the new body-style 9.3s. They're like 09-ish body-style 9.3s that they put an electric drivetrain in. So they're coming out with a new car called the Emily GT. Interesting name, to say the least. But
I can only think of one time that Saab had a name that wasn't just some numbers.
Yeah, right? Phoenix Concept. That's one that comes to my mind.
That wasn't even the one that I was thinking of.
Oh, oh really? Which one were you thinking of?
I can't think of its name right now. It was the one that was it was an early like road racing touring car.
Sonnet.
Yep.
The Saab Sonnet.
The Saab Sonnet. Yeah.
And they had 3 different versions, and the weird thing about them is they had a V4 engine.
Yeah. Well, that wasn't that weird back in the day.
Back in the day, no. It was a Ford Taunus engine, which overseas, this thing sold like hotcakes. Everybody loved that thing. But then nobody in the States bought them, and there's like 4 in the U.S. I've seen 1.
Much to the chagrin of your neighbor who thinks that their Golf has a V4 in it.
All right, so I want to know what you think of the front of this. So it's not going to be branded a Saab. The name on the front of the car is NEVS, which stands for New Electric Vehicle Sweden, by the way. What do you think of that? We'll pop a picture up on screen.
It looks like a Lucid.
Doesn't it?
Yeah.
And if you look at the side, it's very sedan.
It looks Polestar to me.
Yes. Sweden.
Yeah.
It fits. So that car is called the Emily GT. Basically, GM had sold Saab to Spyker.
Yeah.
Which, that is one of my favorite little tidbits. And then they came out with the absolutely gorgeous 9.5 NG. And that stands for New Generation. The NG had a whack of different engines. You could get a 2.8 V6, you could get a 2-liter turbo 4, you could get a 1.6 turbo 4. Every engine combination was available with all-wheel drive, as far as I know.
They probably should have streamlined their process.
They should have. They should have. But overseas, you could also get diesels, which is weird to me because diesel. They actually, remember?
Diesel Saab?
Diesel Saab. It's a 1.9-liter TID engine. So, do you remember that wagon that I was showing you? The New Gen 9.5 wagon?
Yeah.
Turns out, a bunch of them actually made it out of the factory. Like 22, 23 of them, all overseas, obviously. We never got one. They snuck out the back door because they were basically complete when Saab went under. And people love these things. And you want to know how many of them are gassers?
All of them?
3. Out of like 22, 23 of them, 3 of them are gassers. 2 of them are 4-cylinders. 1 of them is a V6. And it's not even an Aero. It's just a 6. Like, it's not anything special.
Do those have VIN plates?
Yes, they actually do. They are fully registered as road legal cars. And I think half of them are brown.
It's the best color.
It's
brown wagon, yeah.
So anyways, GM held on to the patents that that it agreed to provide on license to Spyker. Spyker's version of Saab went bankrupt after failing to negotiate a mutually acceptable agreement with Chinese backers and GM. Chinese investors purchased Saab's assets and set up NEVS AB, or New Electric Vehicle Sweden. The MLE GT, let's see, the hot points here: quad motor.
You don't need that.
You don't need that, but...
Cut that. Get it. The Sapphire has 3 motors.
No, you want to hear the craziest thing? Quad motor, 480 horsepower. Potentially producing more than 500 miles of EPA range with a 175 kilowatt hour battery pack. 480 horsepower out of 4 motors.
My hopes for this have crashed.
Yeah. Emily GT has a quad motor system at each wheel that puts out 480 combined horsepower. So I don't know if them saying it like that is each wheel is 480 horsepower, which seems more reasonable, or if all 4 of them put together is 480 horsepower, which would be bad.
Either way, it's stupid.
4 motors, yeah.
Don't do it.
You can do tri-motor just fine. Yeah. Look at the Hummer.
You can do dual motor. It'd be fine.
I mean, maybe there will be a lower trim Emily, and it'll just be the NEVS Emily, and that'll be, I don't know, single motor rear wheel drive or something, or twin motor rear wheel drive, whatever the heck they're trying to do here. To
be clear, the reason that I don't want there to be 4 motors is because that would make it prohibitively expensive.
Correct.
It would be better from the perspective of being able to torque vector instantly, all that kind of stuff. You can do ABS with regen braking, that sort of thing, all really well. It would also be heavier, obviously more expensive because of more complex manufacturing. It just seems like a overkill solution, especially given the success we've seen with Tesla.
So, remember how you mentioned it looks like a Polestar?
Yeah.
Polestar's leasing part of the factory.
Why is that not the other way around? I'm confused.
And is the Emily GT going to be built? That appears to be the case. The Swedish owner of Saab's former Stålbacka factory in Trollhättan, Sweden, said that the new Emily GT investor is planning to use a significant part of the factory for the project with, quote, full activity, end quote, beginning this fall. Polestar announced plans to lease part of the same facility for development and testing back in April. So, maybe we'll see a Saab Polestar, which would be weird, because Polestars are already very bizarre. Have you seen the new Polestar not having a rear window?
Yeah, with no rear window, yeah.
Oof da may. That's going to be very interesting. But I'm excited to see... I would love to see more Saabs on the road, but you just don't see them anymore.
I saw one of those Spyker Saabs.
Dude, there's 1 or 2 running around South Bend, but they're both 4-cylinders. I worked on them when I was at Gurley Leap.
Yeah.
Not many of them made it out the door. We had one. This is a really weird one, and if you guys know what this is, shout out. We had one Saab 9.4X sitting in the back of the parking lot. Do you have any idea what a 9.4X is?
Nope.
Cadillac SRX with Saab body on it.
The SRX, that's the small crossover, right?
Not really. It's on the same platform as the Traverse and the Acadia.
Oh, so it's like sort of big.
Sort of. I will pull up a picture for you. But the Saab 9.4X that we had a bright tan interior with a black exterior and the 2.8 liter turbo. Which, that's kind of cool. It's the kind of thing that I would love to drive. The 9.4X, here you go. We'll pop a picture up on screen for you too.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that is pretty neat.
It looks better than the SRX it's based on. Well, and that doesn't take much. But did you know that you could actually get that 2.8 liter turbo V6 in the Saab or in the Cadillac SRX? You could get the Saab engine in a Cadillac.
Yeah, that kind of makes sense to me.
Amusingly, it sold horribly because the 3.6 liter made more usable torque at lower RPM because of extra displacement. Because they went from a 3.6 liter NA V6 to a turbocharged 2.8 liter V6. You're just not going to have that torque. Yes, it's a single turbo. And my favorite part is that the turbo is housed right next to the intake. It is prominent. It is top dead center on the engine. Like, there is a turbo. That is one of my favorite things about that 2.8 V6. And I want to own something with it one day. Like, I don't know, a 9.3 Turbo X wagon or something along those lines. But that engine is actually really good when it's not used in a fat SUV. So they're interesting. I think peak torque on them is like almost 4,000 RPM or something. So it just doesn't make sense. The transmission tuning is different too, trying to deal with a smaller engine with higher peak horsepower, but it's at a higher RPM. But whatever.
It's the wrong tool for the job.
It exactly is, because that engine is more suited to be in a smaller-ish sedan, basically. Like, there were all kinds of these weird Saabs that were out rolling around. The 9.4X was one of them. There was a 9.6X, which this one is really weird, but me being the nerd about Subarus, it's a Tribeca. There is a Saab Tribeca concept sitting in a factory somewhere, and it's big. It is fat. That is
yeah, I could definitely believe that exists.
It is a very bizarre thing because it is very much a Tribeca. And it's based on the B9 Tribeca with the ugly Hawkeye front end. And I know I'm going to get some flack for that, but I hate how the Hawkeyes look. I genuinely do.
On the Tribeca, that looks awful.
It looks really bad on the Tribeca, but I still don't like it on the Imprezas. It's blah bye for the win.
I think we should probably talk about something we do like. And given the clock, I think we should talk about our personal endeavors.
Well, I have one more story, and that is something I do like. The new WRX TR.
Okay.
The WRX TR is a stripped down... I have this from Car and Driver as well. It's a stripped to the bones variant that is cheaper than the base WRX. That's what it originally was, right? The TR used to be like the everyman's vehicle for tuners, because that's what TR stands for. Tuner ready. The new one is the top trim WRX for some reason. Make that make sense to me.
Is it a manual? Because you couldn't get the good seats.
The good seats, the adaptive suspension that is actually really, really good, but you have to have a CVT.
Yeah.
That is one of Subaru's biggest follies.
Is that still the case?
The new TR comes well equipped with standard features, including Brembo brakes, stiffer suspension, retuned steering, and Recaro seats. Those are the quick bullet points on Car and Driver.
So it got the seats, but not the suspension, is what
doesn't seem like it. So Automaker is reaching back to 2006 to resurrect the TR moniker, which last time around stood for Tuner Ready. Back then, it was a stripped-down model intended for customers to modify. Cost $1,000 less than a standard WRX and came with unpainted mirror caps, basic seats, and a non-leather steering wheel.
And then they got sued by Ferrari because it sounded too much like the 512 TR.
That would be hilarious, but no. 2024 WRX TR takes a different approach. Standard brakes have been replaced by Brembo 6-piston front calipers, which I can't wait for one of those cars to hit the junkyard so I get some cheap brakes for my Outback. 2-piston rear calipers, larger pads and rotors, and a larger brake master cylinder. According to Subaru, the springs on the TR are stiffer than before, and the damping rates have been retuned. Subaru says that between the new suspension setup and a retuned steering rack, the TR has better body control and steering response than the lower trims, while also maintaining ride quality. You know what would really maintain ride quality?
Adaptive dampers.
Adaptive goddamn dampers, Subaru. We're tired of this. Get rid of the CVT in the fun trims. Nobody wants it. You guys know nobody wants it. look at the sale rate. I think it's like 10% of WRXs that are sold have the CVT in them.
It's all about the experience. Nothing makes you appreciate the sound of an engine more than sitting there at peak, the peak horsepower or peak torque band of that engine, and just holding it there and just hearing
just constantly. It's not fun. It's fun once. I will give it credit. It is fun once because I drove a Forester XT with a CVT transmission.
God.
And it was fun pulling out onto a road. After that, it was so numb because it accelerates surprisingly hard. Like, actually, genuinely, it puts you in your seat and keeps you there. But then driving it anywhere else, it takes it a minute to get to that power band. You floor it, it goes, I don't really want to. Okay, fine. And it puts you in your seat.
Yeah.
It is horrible. Give us manuals, please.
You are making this car for enthusiasts, and yet you are boxing enthusiasts out of the best stuff.
The parts that they want, that they would pay for.
Which incidentally is referred to these days as the inverse Integra.
Inverse Integra, huh?
Because you could only get the stick with the A-spec with the tech package.
I had not thought about it that way.
Yeah. Which way do you prefer? Do you prefer the Integra way, where they lock you out of the manual unless you buy the high trim, or do you prefer not having access to the high trim
with a manual?
Yes.
Oh, that is. I don't like either option.
I think that the reason that they did that with the Integra is because the Civic SI exists.
Yeah, I mean they're on the same platform. They're both good cars, but they got to differentiate themselves somehow for some reason. But the Integra is supposed to be slightly more luxurious. It's not, as hardcore as the Civic, for example.
Yeah.
Which sounds really weird to say that a Civic is hardcore, but because I'm still thinking when I was growing up, everybody had two-door Civics that just wham, bam, 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 every single light. They had no traction. And they always had a 4.5-inch fart can from Need for Speed Underground 2.
It's because they were running on bicycle tires on the front.
That's how you do a burnout, man. When you only have 110 horsepower, you put bicycle tires on it to do a burnout. I've seen a car rolling around on all spare tires. It was a Civic on all spare tires all the way around the car. They were literally this wide. All 4 of them were spares. I don't know why they did it.
At that point, I wonder if their spare was just like a penny farthing bicycle.
It's just it's similar to my car, where my spare tire in the back of my Outback is a full-size spare tire that has absolutely no chance of ever fitting on my car. Its entire purpose in life right now is to keep my trunk floor from falling in.
So I think we should transition over to the last news topic, which is I just want you to experience what the new Forester looks like. Earlier this week, images of it leaked.
This is your spoiler warning. If you want to watch the new Forester reveal live, you should mute right now. Oh goodness. Anyways,
we planned that bid.
We did.
Was it worth it? Let us know. So, open Messenger.
Yes, I saw you sent this to me earlier, and I'm concerned. Nicholas sent 3 photos. Oh dear God. It looks like a Honda Pilot.
What it looks like to me is an Explorer.
I can see a lot of Explorer in it, but I can also see, like,
Look at that is an Explorer.
It's straight up. The grill is straight up ripped off of an Explorer, 100%.
It doesn't help that both the logos are blue ovals.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which really doesn't help.
That's... Goodness. I mean, it's interesting that they're doing more with accent colors, like the Wilderness, for example, being... Their color is gold, which amusingly is the same accent color as Whiteline, who makes very nice suspension parts. Whiteline, sponsor us, please.
They're trying the black is slimming technique on on these higher trim Forester models, and let me tell you,
the taillights look
anyone.
The taillights look kind of cool, but at the same time, it's very cyborgy. It very much looks like it looks like a shotgun blast of just design onto the side of the vehicle. Like, that's kind of neat on the door there, but
would you take this or a CX-90? Note this before he gives his answer.
I have to know what the powertrain on this is. It's, knowing Subaru, it's going to be the FA24 DIT that everything has, obviously. And it's going to be CVT only.
Obviously, they're not really the same price bracket either.
No, not at all.
The CX-90 is definitely a nicer vehicle, but
overall, it is. But
could you, in good conscience, buy this instead of a CX-90?
Ugh, I don't think so. I really don't think so. This hurts. It really hurts to admit this.
That thing is heinous. The CX-90 looks
it's
fantastic.
It does. It is such a good looking vehicle. But my thing that I hate about the automotive industry is the trend towards, hey, the headlights are actually down here. That is my least favorite thing. Like, yes, it started with the Juke. Who knew the Juke would spread like a plague? Look at all the Hyundais nowadays. Or Hyundais, as my co-host would say.
Hyundai.
See? So, the Hyundais, the frickin'... What are the other ones? Hyundai's the big one for all of those.
Are you just referring to...
Headlights are actually down here.
The
Blazer, the Chevy Blazer.
Yeah, the Blazer's really bad for that.
It really is, because, those are the fog lights.
I think the Cherokees...
the standard Cherokees. Subaru, why must you hurt me in this way? Like, they did so well with the BRZ, the redesign of the BRZ.
Oh, yeah.
It is such a good looking car, and the more that I see the WRXs, the more I actually quite like them. Like, I saw a couple of body kits out there that turn the black cladding around the fenders body color. I hate it. It looks so bad as body color, like, genuinely. I actually really like the black plastic around the fenders, which the shelf ass is not something that I'm particularly fond of. If you've seen the back of a new WRX, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But I would not mind having a new WRX as a daily driver. But there's an actual hot hatch in the room in that same sizing price bracket. The Dodge Hornet.
Yeah, we can get into the Hornet at a later time.
Yeah, we'll probably speak about the Hornet next week, because I heard that there's supposed to be a new announcement on it this week.
Okay. Yeah.
So we'll see if anything comes from that. I'll be excited if there is, because it would really be cool to have a Hornet SRT 4.
Hopefully with 3 pedals. It won't.
It won't. It never will.
That would be so cool.
That would be so awesome, right?
Okay.
Anyways, our personal vehicles.
Yes.
So, since this is our first episode, let's give a quick rundown on what each of our vehicles are. You can go first, because your list is shorter.
Yes. I have one of these. This is an 8th gen Honda Accord Coupe. Mine is one in Belize Blue Pearl Metallic, and it is an EXL V6 with a 6-speed manual.
We'll put a picture up for you. It's a good-looking car.
And it has a lot of miles on it. It passed the 222 mark, and I recently did a timing belt on it. And
that sucked.
Yeah, it did suck. Surprisingly,
it took us all day.
I almost wonder if it wasn't as bad as doing the fuel tank on your truck, but we'll get to that in a second.
It's still got problems.
I regularly beat on that Accord, but it is great.
It's a J series.
Everyone sleeps on it, but it is very quick. I fit in the back seat despite being 6'2", and it generally is everything I could want in a daily driver. I love that car. we're going to be here a while.
I have a handful of vehicles. We'll start with the ones that I don't care nearly as much about. Goldilocks, 2004 Subaru Outback Wagon LL Bean Edition. It's got the 3-liter flat 6 in it. It's currently sitting in the yard. Hasn't had an engine in it for 5 years.
Its interior is in the garage.
I just recently bought an all black and gray interior for it for $275, which is a pretty damn decent deal. So the plan with that is ripping apart one of my other cars that I care even less about. Another 2004 Subaru Outback. This one is a rare flavor. It is an H6 3-liter sedan. You don't see those anymore, and mostly because they've all returned to nature, like mine has. My roommate is currently driving it. It's basically his car at this point, but the engine is coming out of that, and I'm refreshing it, and it's going into Goldilocks.
I once had to take a turn in this sedan, and I swear it felt like the car was going to buckle under, like the wheels just all come disconnected and do this thing, and the car just flops onto the ground.
It's not good. It's really not good.
Genuinely one of the most unsettling experiences I've had behind the wheel of a vehicle.
Third gens in general are just fat. So, moving right along, we have my 2005 GMC Sierra 1500. It's an SLE. Done a console swap on it because it was originally a bench truck. It's got the L33 high output 5.3 in it, all aluminum, 10-to-1 compression, 342 axle gears, so it falls on its face when it shifts gears. It's got the dreaded 4L Slippy. But that truck it owes me nothing. I got it for $2,500, and it towed my pride and joy all the way down to the tail ends of Dragon and back. Which, speaking of my pride and joy...
And it managed not to have PNNNNNNN afterwards.
I think you're giving it too many gears, but yeah. It's only a 4-speed, bro. So, my pride and joy...
No, I think I said the right number, because it also had reverse.
Oh, I didn't think about that. I am not intelligent, and I am tired. So, my pride and joy, the car that is tattooed on my arm, and I have a custom acrylic cutout of it.
Which he has not got batteries in right now.
No, we're going to next week because it looks really cool. Two-Face is a 1997 Subaru Outback wagon, which doesn't sound all that aggressive.
Name another car which went to the top of a sand dune and which can also slay the dragon.
Yes, this car has been through mud up to about halfway to 3/4 of the way up the doors. It had a snorkel on it. I sold it, fought to get it back 3-4 years, and found it in an impound yard after 3 people owned it and nobody transferred the title. So I was the only one that could get it back. That's why I have the tattoo on my arm. It is to remind me of what I went through to get that car back. So currently, it has a 3.3-liter flat 6 in it from a Subaru SVX, and it is powered by a Haltech Elite 750 that I tuned myself with this very laptop, and it's been to the tail of the dragon. It's been around a lot of corners much faster than it really should be. Him and I have drag raced multiple times.
It's dropped on free coilovers.
Yes, I drove all the way down to southern Indiana. This guy was parting out a 2005 Impreza STI. I got the coilovers for free, bolted them onto my car. It dropped it about 7 inches from factory ride height. So the tires are significantly smaller. And in 5th gear, because it is a manual trans, in 5th gear at 80 miles an hour, it's turning 4,000 RPM, and I want to die. It's making all of the oil pressure.
I think the top speed is like
134, 135, and that's on the limiter constantly.
Yeah.
You just ride at 7,000 the entire time.
Obviously, we tested that on the track.
Yes, we drove down to a track down in Mexico. It's outside of Santa Cruz, etc. All of the legal requirements to speed have been met.
Yeah.
But yeah, him and I have drag raced in Mexico as well. Our cars are remarkably similar. The only reason that I get out ahead of him is because I have all-wheel drive traction and summer tires.
Yeah.
Which I can still spin my tires. But his car, yeah, it's just wheel hop for days.
Also, your gearing.
My gearing being so short does help significantly.
For a quarter-mile race, yeah, it definitely does.
I'm in the middle of 4th gear, I think, at the end of the drag strip.
I think
when we ran the draggy.
Top of third, maybe.
Yeah, your car's definitely got some long legs on it. Like, my truck, for some reason, at 80 miles an hour, my truck is only turning 2,000 RPM. It's geared for, like, 200 miles an hour for some reason. It's a pickup truck.
It's for fuel economy, I guess.
It only gets 14 miles to the damn gallon. It only gets 14 miles to the gallon, but god damn it if I don't love it. It sounds good. It runs good. I just used it to go and pick up that all of those interior parts, drove an hour away. Didn't skip a beat. It's a damn good truck. My Outback, he's a bastard.
Has a little bit of rust, though.
The truck, yeah. Here's a picture of it for you guys.
And here's a picture of him under it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that was not very fun.
Oh, good times.
It took us, 6.5 hours to do a fuel pump on that thing?
Yeah.
Compared to, I think it was 11 hours to do the timing belt on his car, which, that's a significantly more involved job.
Yeah, you would expect that to take longer. Also, we did a side quest with the injectors.
That was a whole thing. The one not sealing. Still sorry about that.
Yeah, it's fine. I'm just mad that there is a bolt somewhere in there that's missing.
In the V of the engine, we don't know where it went.
I can never forget that is gone.
Yeah, it dropped one of the bolts that hold his fuel rail down, and it literally just disappeared because Honda has an annoying design. I'm blaming Honda on this because I don't want to pull the lower intake off and mess up those gaskets. Anyways, to close out, anything you got to say?
Thanks for watching, and keep driving.
We'll see you next time. And the Subaru WRX TR.
As well as the rising of Mazda as a company. I need to restart this. that went poorly.
You were terrible.
That was awful.
As well as
Mazda rising in the world. The Ram TRX. And damn it, it's not the TRX anymore. I'm gonna blow my brains out.
You're gonna do this. Why don't you write it down in a script?
I'm not gonna write it in a frickin'... I don't need a script.
Apparently you might. Let's do it. Ready?
Yes, I am very ready.
Hello. You're listening to the Shootin' the Shift podcast. This is our first podcast. I fucked up. Okay. As well as
Mazda's move upmarket, the Ram Row and TRX debacle, and
much more.
You didn't let me say Lucid.
I forgot. Today we're going to be talking about a multitude of topics, ranging from the new Ramcharger, which is a bit of a clunky name, the return of Saab, and my personal thoughts on the new WRX TR. I fucked up that. Ta-ta-ta-ta-ta.
The Ramcharger, bit of a clunky name.
It wasn't that bad. Fuck you.